Welcome to MLS Round Table presented by Target. I am Andrew Wiebe, and this is our 2017 Major League Soccer Season in Review. In this three-part series, we'll tackle the biggest stories in Major League Soccer in 2017, break down the top players, the big stars who made their mark on the league this year, and then look forward to 2018 when LAFC enters the league. I am joined by some of the award winners this year. Wait, I think all of them, in fact, as well as Dax McCarty. We'll get to him in 1 second. But Julian Gressel was the AT&T Rookie of the Year with Atlanta United. A heck of a season for this young man. The Defender of the Year, Ike Opara, an honor that he greatly deserved. The Landon Donovan Most Valuable Player, Diego Valeri of the Portland Timbers. Congratulations, Diego. TIm Melia, the All-State Goalkeeper of the Year with Sporting Kansas City. Since the theme here, defense was the theme in Kansas City in 2017. And of course, Dax McCarty, the man traded during the Super Draft, one of the biggest moves of the year in a story I'm sure we'll get to in just a little bit. Guys, so much to talk about this year. We're going to hit expansion. We're going to talk VAR, Houston, Chicago, their resurgences, coaches who lost their jobs, and what that means for Major League Soccer. But I want to start with Atlanta United. What a season, what an expansion campaign this was.
Yeah, I mean, you said it, it was a lot of fun this year. Not just for me in my first professional season, but I think for everybody down in Atlanta. Obviously, we wish we could have made a little longer run, but I think the off-field stuff is really what made the season so memorable and so successful.
Looking around the league, guys, as you watch the results, as you see the crowds, as you see the likes of Almiron and Villalba and everyone else take the stage here. Dax, what were you thinking? You've been around this league a long time.
Yeah, truly incredible. And quite frankly, didn't think the Southeast had it in them, to be honest. I think Atlanta surpassed expectations. Atlanta coming in the Southeast, along with Orlando City. I mean, it was really impressive to see that area and the growth.
I was a fan of just watching the games. I mean, I had to worry about my own, sometimes on Saturdays. But if I could watch an Atlanta United game, I actually did, because they were electric to watch. I mean, they were, especially when they were at home. I watched as many of their home games as I could, because I enjoyed the style. I enjoyed just the atmosphere that they brought, their fans, and I don't know. I thought it was obviously it's a great addition to the league, and I'm happy being from that area to see them doing well.
Tata Martino, what a coach he is, the Argentine national team, Barcelona. I have to imagine, Diego, when you saw him come to the league, you had an expectation of what might follow.
For sure, I agree with Ike, and every time that I could watch the game, obviously about Tata, about the players they signed, the team they had, and the way they play, very dynamic. They look very fresh all the time, looking for goals, looking to attack, dominate the game. They play against us at home, and they dominate us absolutely. So it was really fun to watch. I'm very happy about Martino. I'm very happy about the whole team.
I'm thinking the snow game,
Yeah.
Julian. Can we go back to that? I mean,
Yeah.
Minnesota, the other expansion team this year, the Orange Ball, that is a wild, wild experience for you.
Yeah, first let's not forget about Minnesota. They're a new expansion team as well, and they did actually pretty well, I thought. Maybe got off to a slow start, but then it got better and better. So credit to them for that. But yeah, the snow game was a lot of fun. It was the first win for us in club history, and some of those South Americans that are completely new to the league have never seen snow before. And then to play in conditions like that and then come away with so many goals and then the win at the end was pretty cool.
What a season they had. It did not get to Cup. They've got another season, another off season as well. Toronto FC got there for the second year in a row, and they were, I don't think there's any doubt about it, guys, the best team in Major League Soccer this year. 69 points, that's the most ever, a record in this league. 2+ points per game, that hasn't happened in a long time. 20 wins, tied for most with Seattle in 2014, and then goals, goal differential, stars, depth. It was all there, Tim. You look at this team, and you're not focusing on one guy. You're focusing on the collective, and that's what it takes to set records like this.
Yeah, and like you said, the depth for me was what separated them from every other team. They had a lot of times where they were missing those marquee star players, and other guys stepped up and filled in, and then the sprinkling in the additions of Vasquez and to get that type of production of a player and kind of bring that whole group together and play connections with all their other stars. They have an impressive season.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I think not even just from the additions they made with Vasquez, but just the young guys that they brought to the academy. Raheem Edwards, filled in when Justin Morrow was away, and to replicate the success that they had. Well, actually take it to another level, but from last year's MLS Cup, and to set their mindset throughout every single game this year, and to accomplish a record points on top of getting back to the MLS Cup. I mean, it just speaks a lot to the leadership group that Michael Bradley and Greg Vanny and that staff has.
Yeah, the mindset. The mindset, it was very important because they lost the final and at home. It's not easy, you know. And from the start to the end of the season, they were the best team, playing really well and you know, scoring a lot of goals, being defensively really good. That's a great mindset. And involving, you know, the best guys they have with new guys, and it's amazing.
Yeah, and I look at their balance. I mean, because you can talk about the big stars and they're big players who produced, which, you know, superstars and DPs are supposed to. But I look at off the field, their coaching. They could switch up formations. They could go on the road and play a certain way. They always played attractive, entertaining soccer at home. But yeah, just the unsung heroes that they had throughout their lineup. Guys like Chris Mavinga, Drew Moore. You know, they brought in the right players. A guy like Marky Delgado takes a big step. So I mean, that team just has tremendous balance, tremendous depth, really solid defensively, but amazing going forward as well. So it's hard to argue that they're one of the best teams in league history.
Other projects had some issues in 2017. A record number of coaching changes, guys. 5 during the regular season. When you look around this league, Tim, and you kind of take stock of the pressure on players, on coaches, and you see jobs being lost during the season, what does that say to you about the state of Major League Soccer?
I think it's good. I think it's moving in the right direction because we're under an incredible amount of pressure and they're being held accountable for it. You know, it's their project, their product they put out on the field, and if it's not working, I think it's smart for ownership groups or GMs to make changes to help, you know, put the league in the correct trajectory.
Diego, this probably doesn't surprise you, given your background, right?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because in South America, actually the cycles of the coach are sometimes, you know, crazy. 2 months to 3 months, 4 games sometimes. So, but I don't think that's good. But I think you know, the MLS is getting more competitive, and obviously you want to win, and GMs and owners want to win, coaches too. But you know, it's not good because soccer is a group of work, coaches and players, but sometimes at some point you have to make decisions.
Yeah, and I look at accountability. I mean, that's the main word that pops into my head when I think about all these coaches losing their jobs. And as a player, you know, you have to be accountable for some of the things that happen on the field, and the coach is ultimately the one that's going to take the blame, but you know, the players have a part in it as well, so everyone feels that. But the MLS is getting better, like Diego said, more competitive every season. You know, you see a team like Atlanta United, the players that they're bringing in, the profile that they're raising the league to, and you know, GMs and coaches are going to be held accountable just like the players are, and I think we're seeing that type of accountability with coaches losing their job, and it's not an easy part of the sport, but it's the reality.
Talking about projects, 2 built this year that took teams from last in their respective conferences all the way into the playoffs. Dax, you were part of with the Fire, of course, Houston Dynamo, last in the Western Conference in 2016. They made it all the way to the brink of MLS Cup, Seattle Sounders ending their dream. Diego, you were a victim of the Dynamo. I want to get your thoughts on what changed this year under Wilmer Cabrera. How did they make this turnaround?
Oh, yes. I mean, the big change was that they, like Tim said, I mean, they knew what they want and the way they want to play, and they executed in the best way they could, and it was very success. I mean, it was successful. So I think that's the big change. Obviously, being better organized defensively, and you know, with that idea and good performances of the individuals, so they got a lot of good results.
Not just about defense. Ike, you saw some of these young attackers firsthand.
Yeah, they knocked us out too. So I think a lot of teams overlooked Houston, and as players, you don't want to admit that you overlook a team. But you know, I think when we ran into them, they were, you know, they were who they were all year, kind of consistent, building from the back, you know, defensively sound, and then they had their attack that, you know, they weren't really a counter-attacking kind of team, in my opinion. They were more just take a risk and we'll attack with a few guys and absorb the pressure, and then let our 4 guys make magic. And they played really high, and they made it really difficult because they're talented individuals, and Wilmer did a really good job of understanding, or making his team understand how he wanted to play the game. And for us, we played him 4 times, including the Open Cup and the playoffs as well, and they got the better of us. So,
darling of the league in the beginning of the season, Chicago Fire. Dax, you were part of this resurgence. It's been a while in Chicago since they were in the playoffs, since they were successful. The fan base was restless. You walk in the preseason, you've been a part of Red Bull's teams that have winning the Supporters' Shield, having MLS Cup expectations. What do you see? Why was this team able to turn it around?
And I think it was just the higher expectations, right? I mean, you finish bottom of the league 2 years in a row, and I think everyone starts to get antsy for success. And there needed to be more accountability in that locker room. And I think that's something that, you know, the GM, Nelson Rodriguez, he really stressed, and that's why he brought me in. That's why he brought a guy like Juninho in to go along with these other additions we made, guys like Nemanja Nikolic and obviously, you know, the German superstar Basti. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think both the things that Houston did well and Chicago did well, they brought in not only difference makers from different leagues and different backgrounds, but they also brought in MLS experience, because I think we've seen in MLS, especially because of the travel, because of the grind of the season, because of, you know, the different climates you play in, you need guys that have experienced that. You need guys that have been around to go along with these really talented players, and I think both teams got that balance right.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you mentioned Basti, and he's kind of my guy, you know.
Of course.
But I think he, obviously a guy that has won, you know, everything in his career. If you go to Europe, he won the Champions League, he won the World Cup, he won German Bundesliga so many times. And then, obviously, he didn't want to come here and kind of be bottom of the league and not do so well and lose games here, and, you know, like, he's a guy that is a winner, that wants to win. I'm sure you are as well.
And he puts that mentality out in the locker room, you know, and you guys know as well as I do, I mean, you guys have all been on winning teams, that sometimes talent doesn't just win games, right? It's the mentality, it's going into a game knowing that you're all on the same page, and knowing that when the margins are really thin and when teams are very close together, it's going to be that winner's mentality that sometimes wins out.
One of the differences between wins and losses this year, from August on at least, was video review. VARs coming into the league, changing games, getting calls right oftentimes, and sometimes causing the consternation of fans and players on the field. Diego, I hate to go back to this Dynamo series, man, but I'm thinking of that Darren Maddox play on the side of the box. Looked like maybe a PK to me, was not called. What did you think of year one of video review?
That's okay. So yeah, we got a lot of benefit for a VAR. So during the season, I think it is a great addition to be fair. You know, to have a better game. It doesn't take too long, which is great. And then if we could have the opportunity to ask for, you know, the VAR to review it, some situations. I mean, the captains or the coaches at least once every half. It will be helpful, because sometimes it takes pressure off the referee.
That's a tennis fan speaking, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, tennis players.
No. He's a big NFL fan, right? With the red flag.
This man went to the U.S. This man went to the Cup here.
Yeah. Tennis.
Yeah.
So.
How do defenders think about this? The goalkeepers, the center backs?
If you look at it from afar, or look at it the way, you know, kind of what happened was, it came after the All-Star break, and so it left a lot of guys, a lot of teams skeptical of kind of what was going to be, how it was going to alter the game. And to credit, you know, VAR, it was a success, and the hope now is, as a whole, generally a success. The hope now, I think, is to get better and better. I mean, maybe that will be, I don't know, educate, learned as time goes on. I don't know if I love VAR. All being said, you know, all that said, but I do love that calls get made that are correct.
That's what it's about, getting the calls right. Before we get out of here and get to part two, we've got to talk about Columbus Crew SC. They had headlines that were ones that were distracting. There's no doubt about that. A possible move to Austin being mooted late on in the season as they're preparing for the playoffs. They get there. They almost get to MLS Cup. A Josie Altidore gimpy-legged goal is all that was standing between them. Tim, when you look at what this team was able to accomplish in the face of something that I think a lot of people might have got distracted by, folded under, what do you see?
I think they rallied around the media negativity. I think they came together as a group, and they started playing some of their best soccer at the end of the year. And I mean, I don't know what the message was from the coach or what the message was from the team, but they kind of separated themselves from all the gossip, per se, and just came together and started playing good soccer.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta give credit to the leadership within the team and the leadership from the coaching staff. I mean, you know, they came together as a team and kind of made this like, all right, come on, let's do this for Columbus, I think, you know, and they've really shown that and shown to the fans that they're playing for Columbus and they want to do that for Columbus. And now they had a great run in the playoffs. We're playing great soccer at the end of the season and totally deserve to make it that far.
Greg Berhalter doing great things with Crew SC. Big thanks to you guys for joining me here for part one of our MLS Round Table 2017 season in review. That's it for part one. Huge thanks to Target for helping us out with this one as well, for letting me sit around with these guys and talk soccer. In part two, we will dive into the best players in MLS this season. And in part three, we will talk about 2018. We'll see you on part two.